Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to a game between FXO's Leenock versus Mousesports' ThorZain here on Daybreak. ThorZain spawning as the blue Terran player over here on the top right-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, Leenock spawning as the red Zerg over here on the bottom left-hand side of the map. Is this? Nope, this is not. Oh, an MLG game. So not quite sure how I came across this replay. It was made public somewhere, and I'm able to cast this game for you. So we'll see what's going to go down in this Zerg versus Terran. And this is the only game I have in the series, and we'll see whether or not this is going to be a good game. Terran versus Zerg, I do expect the openings to be pretty standard. Most likely the Zerg will try to go for a fast expansion of some sort, opting to do a rather early scout, surprisingly. And we'll see if he discovers anything. Most of the time, Zerg players want to scout out early if they expect there to be some sort of proxy play. I don't expect there to be any proxy play as I can see the entire map, but we'll see what ThorZain does to follow this up. He could try to delay his barracks and go for a faster command center, but I do believe he should be building up a barracks in just a moment. And as I say that, there is the barracks now being established. So not by the front door, rather close to home, and we'll see what comes of this barracks. Meanwhile, a drone now looking to come in, come up the ramp, take a look around. The drone looking for that barracks will quickly spot it here. And there's not much that this drone can really do in terms of harassment on that one particular SCV. The SCV just going to be sitting there, perhaps taking a little bit of damage now, but a new SCV does come over to take its place as we are now going into a refinery. Drone still wandering around along the backside. We can see that there is a fast hatchery coming in from Leenock, and Leenock perhaps feels pretty comfortable knowing that he can defend whatever his opponent tries to do early on in this game. Command center should be upgrading to an orbital command now. There you go. Also training up one Marine, getting two SCVs on gas. Needs to get one more if he does in fact want to try to go for a faster factory. It looks like there's only two SCVs on gas so far, so there will not be a factory anytime soon. Now, drone does look like it will back away. Another barracks now being established over here. Nope. Instead, just going to be lifted off and landed here instead, as we are now going perhaps into a command center. SCVs are still being trained. We can see that we are a bit supply blocked as a command center now being built here. And the timing on this is rather nice. It looks like ThorZain was going to be trying to go into a factory play, but because there are only two SCVs on gas, he can afford to go for a command center. He's not too far behind in terms of tech. And now we're going to see an SCV take a look around and do a little bit of expanding or scouting as well. Extractor already operational. You can see that there is already 100 gas harvested. We should be getting that metabolic boost as soon as there is enough minerals, as the command center is about halfway completed, and now we are going into a barracks. Barracks should be adding on a reactor. There we go. The command center is already about 2/3 of the way completed, and that command center will finish well in time to catch up economically speaking, just as those Hellions are now trying to make a move out as well. We are getting two more queens. Leenock is above on food, 28/28, and 23 drones versus 20 SCVs, as we are now going into a third command center. All right, so ThorZain really wanting to get into a very heavy economic game. He's going to be able to train up a lot of SCVs off of these three command centers. He should be upgrading this to an orbital command as well. And with this, he can take the economic lead rather quickly. I also like the fact that because he is going so heavy on command centers, he doesn't really need to build supply depots. And with that, he can still double train up these Hellions. Barracks now moving back here, double training of Hellions now underway as Zerglings are making their way down. Metabolic boost will be completed well in time before the Hellions do make their way out. But ThorZain going to be able to establish this orbital command in just a second or two, as we are now going into another factory. So with this, ThorZain could be going into perhaps a very heavy mech play. Double factories are ready, and we'll see how he decides to follow this up, as we now see the barracks perhaps going to be adding on a tech lab, or not exactly sure what it wants to do here, still running only off of one gas. Hellions looking to test the waters up against a couple creep tumors. It looks like the creep tumor may fall. One more shot will do it. And there you go. It is destroyed. Bad play by Leenock for not canceling that creep tumor. had plenty of opportunity to cancel it. Not quite sure why he did not, as Hellions are now still being reinforced, or are now reinforcing together. Zergling's going to be coming around the far side. They will be coming across 4 Hellions and not really knowing about it. It is assumed to be 6 Hellions as the Zerglings now make their way in. Hellions now coming back in from the backside here. There's one round of attack there. The Hellions now have to be very careful. The supply depots are not being raised, and the rest of the Hellions looking to clean up the rest of this Zergling party. Leenock does see that there is another orbital command already ready to go, and now he knows that he is behind. You can see another hatchery has been placed down already as the Zerglings trying to run away from those Hellions. The Hellions should be able to finish all of that off rather easily. I wish ThorZain had raised up his supply depot a little bit earlier, and if he had did exactly that, his opponent would not know how far behind he is economically. 36 SCVs, 41 drones, 4 mules in play, and just strip mining at the natural expansion. This orbital command and not training up any SCVs for some strange reason, as we are now going into siege tanks with siege tech. Armory also being added as Zergling's going to be able to do a very easy run by. Supply depot does come up in time this time around. Hellions now need to make their way back over. Mules trying to run away. One mule does go down. Zerglings are going to get torched here. It looks as though one siege tank should be able to finish off the rest of these lings, as we do not have any sign of blue flame Hellions as of yet, but there are still a fair amount of Hellions in the field. And now one more supply depot will complete off the wall in and make sure that Zerglings are not able to run by very easily at all. Zerglings now going after one lone SCV. That SCV is going to have a very bad day. It does get taken out as the Hellions once again move out. 47 harvesters compared to 51 as ThorZain still training up 2 SCVs at a time. Zerglings look to perhaps come around that backside. There is one siege tank in siege mode. But with all those supply depots down, I do not imagine, I can't imagine that is exactly what ThorZain wants, as those Zerglings may be able to run inside still rather easily. 9 more drones now being trained, level 1 weapons upgrade for the vehicles, for all of those factory units. We are also going into an engineering bay, most likely just for missile turrets and not for infantry upgrades, as there is no sign of infantry upgrades as of yet. So far, one queen looks like it will be taken out. Nope. More and more Hellions looking to come back in over here. May get some easy damage, but roaches are now appearing, and those roaches more than enough to push back those units. A scouting barracks now moving across the field. A Thor also coming into play. We are going into a single Thor now. More mules being called down. And with more and more strip mining, ThorZain needs to figure out when he's going to be establishing up his third base. He's doing that exactly now, sitting at 103. 58 SCVs compared to 62 drones. ThorZain still having a slightly higher income. You can see that he does have the slightly higher income, but he is behind in terms of gas, as Leenock already running off of 6 extractors. That's going to help him as he is now transitioning into Mutalisk. The Mutalisk, however, will have a very difficult time trying to go up against those Thors. And the Spire still needs about another 40 seconds to go, so the Thors will be upgraded 1-0, but not a critical upgrade up to 2-0 just quite yet. One Overseer down to 114 hit points. More damage still being dealt. Another round of Javelin missiles coming into the back as we now see ThorZain looking to establish up his 4th base. A barracks is flying around, does spot the main base, see that it is a tech to tier 2 missile turrets, 1 in each location so far, enough to handle a small amount of Mutalisks, but if there's any true investment into Mutalisks, those Mutalisks will be able to take down those SCVs rather easily. Now we'll see how these players do decide to react. Both players just sitting inside their bases, continuing to macro, going further and further. SCVs being transferred here. Surprisingly, no missile turret being established at the 3rd base, as Hellions now look to perhaps torch in some easy drones. They are going to catch some drones in transit, and that is going to be a perfect lineup there. Oh, ThorZain getting in a lot of free kills on those units. 13 drones all of a sudden completely lost, and now the harvester count shows 72 compared to 65. The barracks is now getting shot down by some Mutalisks. We can see Hellions now making their way around the map still. Hellions just continuing to pool together here, and more siege tanks being added. apologies for the phone. Hopefully they don't leave a message, as that would be very annoying. As now we are getting another command center once again. So ThorZain may be lifting off and landing here in just a moment. We can see that there are Hellions ready to go here, as now Mutalisk able to take down this barracks. Level 2 weapons upgrade, autosec tracking, and level 1 vehicle plating also coming into play. Hellions looking to finish that off here. Or Hellions looking to control the Xel'Naga Tower, as the Mutalisk may be able to finish them off rather easily and quickly. Mutalisk going after those Hellions. Hellions looking to back away once more. We can see that ThorZain really investing heavily into his mech army, and his mech army should be able to destroy anything that comes out of Leenock so far, as Leenock has not really shown much of anything. Infestors not all that useful against those stores, as those stores are able to deal a lot of damage very quickly. The Hellions are upgraded 1-0 and will be able to two-shot many of those drones, but spine crawlers in position, making that harassment much weaker. 3 Thors now being trained at a time. We already had 5 Thors, soon to be 7, as we now see a command center looking to land off over here. There is 2 Thors nearby. If those Thors are able to get a shot off onto those Mutalisks are going to fall rather quickly. Nope, they are looking to back away, as the Hellion quickly gets taken out once more. A new command center now being built, as well as we are going into even more factories. ThorZain really enjoying, or really liking to go heavy mech play so far, as we now see another round of attack coming in from those stores shutting down those Mutalisks. But the problem is going to be Broodlords. Broodlords are very effective against Thors, and those Thors are not that effective against those Broodlords, especially if they get choked up on some Broodlings. Planetary Fortress now being established. You can see double starports now being added by ThorZain. ThorZain, perhaps expecting a transition into Broodlords, wants to make sure that he does not fall prey to them. 10 corruptors now being added. Those starports still have a little bit of time before they are completed. We are getting some reactors now, so there is already 1 reactor ready to go. A second reactor may be ready, as 1 overseer should get taken down. 1 more attack, there it goes. It does get taken out there, as we now see roaches hiding along the bottom side here. Siege tanks in position to defend against those roaches. We can see that the Greater Spire is completed. No Broodlords as of yet. Nope, no Broodlords. There are 10 corruptors, and now in comes 10 Broodlord cocoons. Those Broodlords will be very difficult to stop. You can see now that the starports should be double training up those Vikings. We are going to have quad, perhaps training up 4 Vikings at a time. You can see how many reactors are currently in play. 4 Vikings being trained at a time, and those Broodlords will need a lot of more corruptors in order to defend against those Vikings. Another Mutalisk gets taken out there, and now how many Thors are on the field? 9 Thors on the field. A very large army. Level 3 weapons upgrade about to be completed. Level 1 weapons upgrade, as now we can see the destructible debris will all get taken out rather quickly. No upgrades on those Broodlings though, and now a quick scanner sweep does reveal those Broodlords. So Vikings still being added. 4 Vikings in the air, another 4 being added, and will it be enough, as ThorZain has plenty of food to utilize and perhaps try to take down all of these Broodlords? Here we go. There is 1 or 3 Vikings nearby. The Broodlords are ready to go. The Broodlords are going to start to clump up together. Siege tanks, and now all of those units are backing off. SCVs are on auto repair. Is it going to be enough to really fight back against all of these units, as I do not see any corruptors with this group? The Thors should be focusing down the Broodlords, as now we see the Broodlords are coming in. The Thors are down over here as well. The Thors have to be very careful though, as in comes some infested Terrans as well. Leenock pushing out with this massive, very gas intensive army, and now in comes the infested Terrans. They are upgraded 2-1, focusing down many of those stores. The Thors need to be repaired, and it looks like they are not being repaired at all, as the counterattack now coming in. Leenock perhaps not suspecting the sheer amount of production coming in from ThorZain, and ThorZain with 181 food or supply army against 155. Things are looking very good for ThorZain. Meanwhile, Leenock needs to perhaps transition into something else. He cannot expect to win this game utilizing just Broodlords, especially when there are over 13 1-0 upgraded Vikings on the field. Now, there are still a whole bunch of low hit point Thors. For some reason, SCVs are not repairing. You can see the sheer amount of minerals that Leenock is sitting on, over 3,000, as we now see Zerglings looking to perhaps take down. No, they are not taking down this command center, just simply going to run by and perhaps hit this third base here. Thors are being brought over. SCVs are coming over to repair. There are only 2 SCVs on auto repair. Zerglings now going to try to make their way in as well. And the Thors are going to finish off some of these Zerglings as they are just caught in transit, not even bothering to attack. And now it looks like these Zerglings will get taken out as well, as now ThorZain does have the autosec tracking and the additional +1 range. All he needs is the additional Terran building armor, and this planetary fortress will pretty much be near invulnerable. Leenock does have 10 spine crawlers on the front door. That is going to be very difficult to break, or at least will take a lot of time, as now 8 SCVs being trained by ThorZain. And ThorZain training up 8 SCVs at a time, and also having a fair amount of SCVs just on auto repair here will keep all of these Thors alive. The Thors are upgraded 3-1, and with 3-1 upgraded Thors, even Ultralists are not going to be enough, as Thor's hammer dropping about 78 damage per attack. In comes 12 Broodlords trying to rinse and repeat. You can see there are a lot of Queens coming in as well. The Queens are going to be trying to do some mass transfusions. Is it going to be enough? 1 Thor now down. Vikings quickly coming in. We can see that in fungal growth is hitting across multiple units now. Is it going to be enough? The Hellions, both sides battling it out. Broodlords and Thor is just battling out a massive battle here in the center portion of the map. Who is coming out on top? All the Queens are now down. It looks like Broodlords are getting taken down, and ThorZain just continuing the chase with multiple Vikings. Corruptors are continuing to come back in. Infestors do not have any more energy for fungal growth, and it looks like all of these Vikings will finish off the Corruptors and the Broodlords, as the Siege Tanks will siege up and destroy this entire spine crawler line. They need to uproot, otherwise they will get taken out. And now I believe that will be a deciding tipping point in this game. Not sure what exactly Leenock can do to stop the sheer amount of units. 7 Thors, 13 Vikings, 5 Siege Tanks. No more Hellions, though, as the Zerglings now just running up against all of these units here, going to take down some of these Siege Tanks. Corruptors now going up against the Vikings, but the Thor is also adding in some additional help. With that splash damage, those Corruptors were stacking up on top of each other. Not that great, as we are now going into level 3 armor on the Corruptors. The Corruptors do not have any attack upgrades, though. The Vikings 1-0 upgrades only, soon to be 2-0. As now we are going into level 1 ship plating, so 2-1. More Vikings still being added, 6 Vikings being trained at a time. Now 20 Roaches coming in, and those Roaches, if they can perhaps find those stores and focus them down one at a time before the Siege Tanks siege, that might be enough. But once those Siege Tanks are in siege mode, the amount of splash damage and the burst damage from those Siege Tanks will destroy those units well before they get within range. Roaches getting caught in transit once more, and now all these stores need to do is make sure that they don't die, as the Siege Tanks are now getting in the proper position. Spine Crawlers looking to perhaps slow down these stores, but the Thors more than a match to take down these Spine Crawlers. Spine Crawlers only getting 1 hit each pretty much, as the Spine Crawlers get focused down by these 4 Thors, and now looking to take down this hatchery. Meanwhile, back over here, the Vikings and the Thors and Siege Tanks making sure there is no massive flank. Roaches now coming across the center. Will it be enough? There are a lot of buildings here. There are a lot of mules. And what are these Roaches looking to do? They are looking to do a very strong counterattack. Vikings now going into ground mode. Siege Tanks do siege, but a little bit late, as all of these Siege Tanks do get destroyed. Vikings against Roaches, not a very good battle at all. The Vikings now jumping back up into the air. More Siege Tanks need to be trained, but it looks like it's going to turn into a base trade, as Leenock now looking to perhaps focus down more and more of these stores. Vikings going into ground mode and taking down some of these Roaches. The Roaches focusing down the Vikings, not taking down the higher DPS stores. And that may be the issue, as we are now going into Banshees. The Banshees should be able to clean up all of these Roaches. Now a great tech change, as the Roaches are going to get just stopped in their tracks. The Siege Tanks are going to be able to push back these units. And once the Siege Tanks pushes them back, the Banshees should be able to follow it up and finish it up. Roaches now continuing to push over here. There is a 50 supply advantage. More and more Siege Tanks and Thors are getting taken out. The Roaches just in mass number finishing off the Thors. And there you go. It is now a 40 supply difference between these two armies. So Roaches now continuing to just push their way off over here. We now see 46 Harvesters compared to 31. Both sides really battling it out. Both sides losing a lot of workers, as the Roaches now look to push back in again. A Planetary Fortress does have a lot of kills. You can see that the Siege Tanks are in position to just shell away at these Roaches, and I believe that will be the GG, as the Thors do reinforce just in time. and those roaches will not be able to take out much more than those siege tanks and a couple of Hellions. Corruptors now once again trying to re-engage. Vikings now pushing back, and there is the GG by Leenock. Leenock losing this game to Mouse Sports' StarCraft here on Daybreak. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.